Hey friends, my name is Jackson and welcome back to my channel, Gender Not Found. And I am going to read some entitled parent stories. You guys voted that you wanted more Reddit content, so I'm gonna give it to you. Anyway, here you go. A parent invaded my brother's personal space and threatened him. All that happened because my brother defended himself from his entitled daughter. So the parent who invaded my brother's space has a daughter, and his daughter loves making fun of me and my brother. So I got sick of her and fired back, and she didn't like that. She started yelling and wanted to hit me. My brother stood in front of me, and she started hitting him. My brother then grabbed her hand and told her to stop, and she has no right to hit him. My brother did not let go of her hand and asked, "Who gave you the right to hit me?" She started crying and ran off. Next second, her dad, a grown-ass man, came up to my brother, pushing himself on him, and started threatening him. After that, me and my brother were blamed for hitting a girl when we didn't, and the school tried to hide this happening. My mom is angry and she's trying to get a lawyer. I think she means lawyer. Sorry, the English is pretty bad in this post. Yeah. My entitled mother won't take me to the doctor and thinks she can self-diagnose me. Obligatory on mobile. So I, 15 male, have a whole host of things wrong with my head, but the biggest is anxiety. It's almost taken over my life. I've had it for almost as long as I can remember, and my mom knows about it. So, a few months ago, it started feeling weird to breathe. It wasn't hard, and I don't feel tired or anything, but I was still concerned. I've also felt random tingling in my arms if they're in the same position for just like 10 seconds, and full dull chest pain. It's still happening to this day. I've tried to eat less junk food, be more active, etc., etc. I informed my mom, and this is what she had to say. "Oh, you're completely fine. It's just your anxiety." "Yeah, maybe, but I haven't been to an appointment in forever with my neurologist or doctor. When can you take me?" "Just remind me and I'll schedule it tomorrow morning." That was in February. She hasn't scheduled shit and I've reminded her. She also decided that for the 1 week I was doing well, she wouldn't pick up my prescription and would try and get me off medications because clearly you don't need them anymore. Because clearly you don't need them anymore. I'm lost, flustered, and slightly convinced something unhealthy is going on with me. What do I do? If your mom is ignoring your medical needs, can you talk to your dad or other relative? If all else fails, call an ambulance. If school was in session, you could have spoke to the school nurse, but even if it sounds a little over the top, you may need to call an ambulance just so you can be sure to be seen by a doctor. Yeah, I agree. They should. Oh, they may have to get your mom's permission to treat you, but if she refuses and you state that she has been ignoring your symptoms and refusing to take you to a doctor, they may call CPS. You can also call CPS and tell them something is wrong and your mother is denying you medical treatment and is withholding medication. Not to scare you unnecessarily, but my friend's friend ignored symptoms and didn't tell her mom that she felt ill until it was too late to treat her. She died of stomach cancer a few months later at 16. Don't ignore symptoms. Hopefully your mom is right about it just being your anxiety and nothing more serious. But then that has to be treated. So I have anxiety and depression and PTSD. And I've been like, I take medication, you guys know that. And it's actually dangerous in many situations to just go off your medication cold turkey, and you should not stop taking your meds. And I'm not going to stop taking my meds. And I actually was talking to my doctor recently to my I can't remember if it was my psychologist or my psychiatrist, the one that manages my medication. I can never remember which one that is, but he was saying that you shouldn't go off your medication cold turkey, at least the medications that I'm taking. And we were talking because they said I might have to go off my medication sometime before, like, I might have to be off my medication for a bit before getting top surgery. And even though it's 2 years away, I still think that I might be taking medication and I might still need my medication. So I'm thinking, like, I'm not gonna go off my meds and I'm gonna go right back on them after like done after I'm done with my top surgery and I'm like all good and stuff. Like, as soon as I get permission to go back on my meds, I'm gonna go back on my meds right away. But when I get the top surgery, we're gonna like slowly go off them, and the doctor's gonna help me with that because you can't just go off them cold turkey in many cases. And especially with medications that I'm taking, I don't know if what OP is taking is the same medications as me, but you can't just go off your medication. Like, if you're taking certain medications for depression or anxiety or whatever, like, you can't just go off them cold turkey because it's actually pretty dangerous. And you should not take your child off their medication. And I don't know why the entitled mother thinks her son doesn't need this anymore, but I agree with that first commenter. He should do everything he can to get help, even if he needs to call CPS, which is a really scary situation for a lot of people. It's definitely scary when CPS came to the house and took me and my sister away. I mean, we got back in my mom's care. My dad left, thankfully, but they actually took us out and put us in foster care for a while. Alright, let's move on to the next story. My mother thinks I will take care of her when she's old. Okay, this should be good. I never had a good relationship with my mother. She had me when she was 19 with a shitty father I don't have a relationship with. She would leave me at my grandma's my whole childhood, and whenever she tried to take me home, I'd hang on to door frames and never want to leave with her. My grandmother died when I was in my teens, and then I was stuck living with her, and I would rebel because she wasn't a good mother. One time I found tomatoes under her bed. She would hide food from me because she wanted it all for herself. I get it if it was candy, but produce? Just buy more. I had to work since I was 14 because she didn't want to buy me things I needed or wanted. I needed shoes, and she said she didn't have money. And literally the next day, she bought herself two pairs and hid them in the closet. I was drugged and raped when I was 15 years old, and I knew she would blame me for it, so I didn't tell anyone. Many years later, she called me names on my 30th birthday because she thought I deleted her wishes off my Facebook, which I didn't, and I told her she is such a shitty mother that I didn't even feel safe to tell her that I was raped when I was a teen. She completely ignored it. She completely ignored it and then blocked me for 2 years. Years later, and she still didn't mention it. She would take pills to wake up and other pills to go to sleep. Then they would not work anymore, so she would chase pills with a shot of vodka. She would binge and make herself throw up in front of me when I was a teen. She would steal makeup with me when I was like 13. She let me date a 24-year-old when I was 15. Oh god. She tried to talk me into staying with my ex-husband, who would screw strippers in my bed because he bought her tickets from Europe to Vegas. She is proud she takes bribes at work and brags about it often. She told me she wishes she had scrubbed me out when I was 18. I moved out a week later when she was at work, and she didn't call me for 3 months, even though she had no idea where I was. Now I'm in the US and haven't been back in Europe for 16 years. Writing this down makes me astounded that I kind of normalized my childhood. In my head, I'm starting to realize that it really wasn't normal at all, and why I've struggled with the relationships my whole life. Anyway, she is under the impression I will be taking care of her when she's old. She's very upset when I tell her I won't. She is trying to seem supportive and offering help that she can't provide, and knows I won't ask her for to manipulate me into doing things for her in the future. She is super nice because I'm doing pretty well financially. She's not getting a penny from me. Everything is always my fault. Nothing is ever her fault. She's always perfect and never wrong. If given a choice between living with my mother and death, I would immediately pick death without any hesitation. Thanks for reading my long rant. Oh my god. That started off funny, but then it's so fucked up. Then it just turned out so messed up. And someone in the comments says, honey, it's okay to totally block her and not talk to her ever again. And OP says, I can't bring myself to do that for some reason. When she stopped talking to me for 2 years, I didn't miss her at all and never reached out to her. She had to contact me. Sometimes I'm thinking about starting a huge fight. Any criticism towards her will do that, so she blocks me again. And then someone else replies, if you can't bring yourself to block her, telling her you wouldn't piss on her if she were on fire might make her block you, if at least for a while. And if it works, try blocking her back on everything and forget it. Just tell yourself she blocked you and that's that. And then OP says, that definitely work, lol. I could also go to Europe and visit my best friend, and not her. She would totally lose it. Oh my god. And someone else responds, therapy, you are allowed to drop the rope. And OP says, I just started therapy. Actually, I hope it helps. I really don't have anyone else to talk. I really don't have anyone to talk to about all this, so I just stay busy 24/7. I feel like I will fall apart if I slow down. And someone responds to that. Sadly, that is a trauma response. Healing is going to be difficult, but it will be worth every bit of it. Glad you're starting therapy. Yeah, yeah. I still have a lot of trauma responses, and I mean less, but do still have a lot of trauma responses, though they can be very serious and sometimes really dangerous. And yeah, staying busy 24/7. All right, our next and last one is a wait, I might have more. Oh, I have a couple more. Let's just okay, let's start with this one. Did anyone else's parents collect rent, food, utilities, and the rest of your money because you owed her for emotional damages? Or do I have an entitled mother? You have an entitled mother, sorry to say. Um, but anyway, okay, for a bit of backstory, I was in foster care for 15 years until they tried to reintegrate me back in with my mom, and she had me back periodically before losing me again. And it kept going for the first 5 years of my life until just before my 6th birthday, they removed me permanently and the government relinquished custody until I was legally an adult. I bounced around the foster system until my maternal auntie and so my mom's sister took me in and cared for me. I had some unresolved trauma resurface around 12 and also suffered from an eating disorder around the same time and was then hospitalized for 3 years. And after just being released from psychiatric care, it was incident and I spiraled yet again. And when at hospital, they said they couldn't let me return. It was affecting their images, etc. They were rich, who took me in to look good in their circles, and I was their charity case. State decided to try to reintegrate me back to live with my mom since they had nowhere else to place me. So now I was living with my mom, and as soon as I got there, she told me I had to get a job, and since I was in a living there, and I was increasing bills and living cost immensely, and I was all enough to pay my way in the world, me being naive and desperately wanting my mother's love deemed it a reasonable request, and got a job at the local clothing department store, and it fit around my schedule with school. I already had a bank account and everything that I had for years since. I got an allowance from the government for being in care and studying. However, my mom made me on a new account that she was able to gain access to and monitor the money, and any future payments I wish to receive have to go into this account after my first paycheck. I went to transfer the money to my mom and then transfer the rest to my savings for if I wanted to do something or for a coffee, etc., only to find nothing in the account, only to see $0 balance. I was working 2 weekends as well as 3 afternoons, and the government allowance since I was in school, more of an insensitive payment, earning $620 a week in total, plus the state was paying her the same as if she were a foster carer, so I, to say the least, was shocked to see an empty account, and I was surprised that she didn't even mention that she had transferred it. So when I asked her where all the money was, she said she had transferred it like she said for her expenses, and I asked where the rest of it is. She said it was for emotional damage caused by her losing me, and that I owed her back pay for the years I spent in care. I was also expected to cook 3 to 4 meals a week, do all the dishes after, and wash and fold and put away laundry, vacuum the house grocery shopping, and tutor my brother, and make sure he did homework, and also keep on top of my schoolwork, and maintain my grades. What the fuck? Since she wasn't expecting me, she lived in a 2 bedroom apartment with my half brother in the middle of nowhere, and I had no room or bed. I had to sleep on the floor. So to help, the state paid to help her get a place that was in a more secure location and paid for the entire move and furniture, etc. And this was like 3 months after I moved in with her. Same as before, she said I had a week to get a job, and the drill was the same. Now I had a lawn to mow every week. The walk to school was now 35 minutes long, and the shops were 30 minutes walk. The opposite direction, I had to carry the groceries the whole way since my mom didn't drive or have a car. After settling in, even though not happy about having no money to spend as a 15-year-old, it was going well. I had friends and everything. Then one time my caseworker came to check and they said that they were going to start decreasing the payment amount to my mom and she was pissed. And less than a month later, I was kicked out because I couldn't benefit her anymore and I was kicked out with nothing. It was all hers now. So with the clothes on my back, luckily had my phone, but homeless living in a homeless youth hostel and had to drop out of school because I wasn't able to do my assignments and I lost all my books. I was let go from work during this period because I was going through a rough episode that was affecting the business. She never told the caseworker, and it wasn't until I had to call her about it a week later since she never called me. Normally she's there within 24 hours, but yeah. Anyone else had their money taken as teens? Is this even legal? LOL. My mom's entitlement is astounding. My entire family's really. This is just one example. I have so many other things I could add, but this one was on my mind for a while. And I was like, screw it, let's ask Reddit. Wow. And someone in the comments says, someone is due emotional damage, but it's not your mom. Mom is in quotation marks. I'm not sure how it works where you are, but maybe try to assess if you can sue your mother, again, in quotation marks. This sounds like fraud and coercion to me. I'm not sure how old you are, but if you're a minor, a police complaint for abandonment slash neglect slash cruelty and theft, if applicable, should be made. And OP says, this was 8 years ago. Every time I say this, people get baffled at this. I'm in court now with the State Department, but it's a slow process. Holy crap. People are wishing him the best. And the original commenter says, all the best, OP. It must be so draining to go through this. Hopefully it resolves in your favor soon. And then there's more people wishing OP good luck. And someone else in the comments says, report that as soon as you can. The money can and will be returned. You should not be paying for a service you did not sign up for. Services in quotation marks. And OP again says, this was 8 years ago. I'm in court now with State Department of Child Protection Services for many reasons, including this one, but it's a slow road. LOL. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so upsetting. Someone else says she's definitely entitled. She was legally mandated to pay for your basic necessities, not you. Ugh. Someone else says, I'm just so sorry for all you've been through. The absolute effing gall of this woman to blame you for emotional damages she suffered as a result of being an unfit parent. This isn't even entitled, it's delusional. I hope you have kind people in your life now that you trust and that show you unconditional love. You don't deserve any of what happened to you. Alright, I think we're gonna move on to another post. So this one's actually more of a question. What's something completely insane your parents did that you only understood how messed up it is when you became older? So I'm going to add to that pretty much everything my dad did, pretty much everything Daniel did. My mom wouldn't allow me to dress myself until I was a senior in high school. What? Every time I tried to choose my own shirt or pants, she would tell me to go put something else on, and then repeat it and then start an argument where I would just get emotionally exhausted, or start to feel guilty for disobeying my mom and go put on what she wanted all the way until senior year of high school. I'm 25 now and never understood just how emasculating that was and how low it would make me feel. That's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. And someone says, one of the commenters says, mine were champions of mixed messages. Yeah, so was Daniel. To the point I still doubt my first instincts or initial decision. At 47 years old, they would complain I wasn't dressing nice enough for school or other events, then refuse to let me wear a silk shirt out as if it was something reserved for the queen. I have snuck out a nice blouse on several occasions. Okay, Dad would tell me there must be something wrong with me because I wasn't going out like other teenagers. Then tell me by going out somewhere when I don't know everyone, I'm going to get myself raped. That's just two examples, so I second guess everything still. Okay. And someone replied to that, I got that you're not allowed to leave the house, and we don't want you in the house. At the same time, I spent a bit of time on the roof. Malicious compliance. Sometimes it makes them think, but boomer parents never apologized and never admitted they were wrong. Broken people raise broken children, especially in an era where mental health care wasn't a thing. Or they wouldn't let you get health care. Or they wouldn't let you get mental health care. Fantastic. Ah. Another commenter says, my mom found Christianity and made us all find it. Secular, non-religious CDs got thrown away. We had to have Angel Television, only religious shows. We were forced to go to church/youth group/church camp. Reading material was the Bible. We had no choice in the matter and were forced to be religious. If we questioned anything, we were going to hell and grounded. Shocking that both me and my sister have zero to do with Christianity. Do not force your beliefs on your children. You can guide them, but let them make their own choices. My daughters know I don't buy into any of that, but I told them I will support whatever they believe as long as you don't use those beliefs to hate others. And then someone replies to that, LOL, same, but with spicy gay tendencies. So there was a similar thing that happened in our house, and it took me a while to get back into Christianity, and it was really difficult, and I still struggle with it a lot. But like, I have a way better relationship with God now than I did when I first got out of it, and I didn't even get back into religion until I was in my 20s because I just didn't like it and I didn't want to because of everything my dad did and because of everything Daniel did and like the whole thing. And also my dad Daniel also sent mixed messages, like he would say he wouldn't let me buy Barbies because they set unrealistic expectations for women, but then he would let me and my sister watch porn when we were really young, which is ridiculous. I just don't understand how that can happen. And the whole thing, and it was all really frustrating and upsetting. And my Daniel was such an idiot and an asshole, so okay. I'm starting to really dislike children, kind of my family's fault. This is a new post, by the way. I, 23 female, currently live in a household where my youngest siblings are all under 10 years old. And when my mom decides that she can't be bothered with them and she doesn't want to bother my older sibling, it becomes my task to watch them, sometimes all day. It has occasionally lasted from the moment that they wake up at 7:30 in the morning to the moment that the youngest of them decided to stop being a monkey at midnight. What? Who puts... My 10-year-old goes to bed at 9. Sure, those long days are few and far between now, but that's only because they're old enough to be slightly self-sufficient now and I have a full-time job, and originally 4 to 6 online college courses. Sure, I was also allowed to bring my art tablet, Switch, or school computer down to use while I watch over the small ones, but I often got next to nothing done with them all deciding to be hungry at different times, having to be pried off of furniture or each other, and sometimes desperately needing to pee, but having waited way too long and needing me to carry them, lest they soil themselves the second that they take a step. In addition to not really having any me time, especially when I was temporarily jobless and had no excuse not to look after them, I also started kind of doing poorly in classes, and considering the fact that a lot of that money was coming out of my pocket and not just loans, it was particularly frustrating. Now I've been overlooked entirely. My parents can't find the time to help me with financial aid info anymore, and as a result, I can't get any loans for school or anything. I genuinely cannot afford to go, even though I now have the vaguest idea of what I might try to do with my life. A small detail that I feel the need to add here, as it's still important but not nearly as story driven as the rest of it is that I suspect I have ADHD. Not an entire list of symptoms, but I rock myself or tap/shake when I'm stressed. I've ground my teeth to the point of damaging them. The sounds of eating, screaming children, or the random loud noises from jumping off of furniture genuinely cause me rage and discomfort, and sometimes I'm simply in another world for a few moments without having realized that I have ever left, and in that short amount of time there is suddenly a tiny human attempting to scale the refrigerator like it's Mount Everest. I don't feel that I should be responsible for children, especially now that my mild annoyance by their presence has the potential to devolve into new hatred. Even seeing children that are not connected to me in random social settings causes me irritation and disgust, even when they are being perfectly fine. I think the only instance of children that doesn't bother me at the moment is babies. They're small, misshapen humans that just vibe, and when they're not screaming their tiny heads off, I can kind of respect that. Still, the idea of cooking one up in my stomach seems like when pigs fly in a frozen over hell situation. Of course, my family hates that about me, though. The child didn't do anything to you. The specific child didn't have to, they're just annoying to me. But you were a child once. Cool, thanks for the reminder. We took care of you just like that when you were that age, and you had to clean your little butt. Didn't ask you to do that, but thanks. Leave my butt out of this. But in our religion, it says that you have to. You act like infertile people don't exist. So you're going to deny your parents the chance at grandchildren? Yeah, pretty much. Get grandchildren from one of the million other kids you produced. Your emotions don't matter now. You'll change your mind when you're older. Your body will remind you. Yeah, but the crippling pains and fits of vomiting that I experience almost monthly don't exactly instill confidence. I could literally die on the table. God will protect you, and if you die, it'll just be part of his plan. Okay, cool. Not dying for a child that I can already tell I won't like. See, there's this conversation, but also the idea that I don't even have a significant other yet. Moreover, though I'll likely never tell them, I'm pretty sure I'm bisexual, though I feel myself leaning more towards women these days. Towards women some days. Any child that I did have either wouldn't be biologically mine or would be shunned and mistreated by them for potentially having two mommies or both. It's also frustrating. I don't like kids. I don't want kids. It's partially their fault for not raising their youngest properly and instead shoving them onto me. Can we all please move on to a new argument? If you've reached the end either by reading it or scrolling, thank you. Sometimes my family really says or does things that I can't just move on from, and this overused argument about babies and childcare when they barely do the latter bit themselves is just tiresome. I'm gonna try and do a couple more. I only have a few more stories left, so let's go. See if I can finish all the stories that I have saved. Knock it off. My parents want me to break up with my boyfriend as they think he is disrespectful and manipulative and not a good fit. What do I do? Edit. My parents do give notice, and I always do let my boyfriend know when they're coming over. It's not a surprise. He knew they were over at our house that day. Another edit, I guess I should also mention that one, my boyfriend isn't always a bad host, but I guess somehow manages to not match up to my parents' expectations of being a host every time, such as not saying come in when opening the door for them. Two, my mom is quite demanding, and so is my dad, sort of. It's been hard finding independence and my voice with them. Even moving out was a big deal that I had to convince them about. While they do love and care for me, they do feel like I'm still supposed to do what they tell me to do as their daughter. They've improvised and loosened their reins on me, but that battle is far from over for me. Also, for example, my dad forgetting to wish my mom happy Mother's Day or happy birthday as soon as he sees her in the morning has as soon as he sees her in the morning has become a big deal in the past. My mom especially has even lost friendships because of not getting her way and a friend not wishing her a happy birthday, etc. She even seems entitled over whether my brother's fiance wears blue eyeshadow or not. Even if the blue eyeshadow is ugly, I feel like that's not my mom's problem to solve. I, female 24, have been dating my boyfriend, male 27, for about 1.5 years now, and he has been introduced to my parents 2 months into dating. I moved in with him 5 months into dating, so have been living together for a year now. Moving in together introduced no issues into our relationship and has been an amazing year. For context also, we all live in London. My family moved here when I was a baby. I am Indian and my boyfriend is Fijian Indian, and he has been trying to learn my language. as I and my parents would prefer that, namely to pass down my language to my kids. He comes over to my parents' house with me for weekly language lessons with my mom. Although my parents know English, they converse with him mainly, but not all the time, in our native language to help him pick up the language and expect him to reply back in the same language. The problem is my family is now very against him and want me to break up with him. They say that he's not family oriented and doesn't care about anyone slash anything. They gave various reasons for this, including him making us wait for 10 minutes the very first time I brought my family over to his place. We waited in the apartment lobby as he was late, and he didn't apologize for his making us wait at all. After this, he has been late to family visits and has made us, me and boyfriend, late to events many times because he showers for too long and generally doesn't manage his time well. It has been annoying and stressful for me to be the one to always nag and keep pushing him to get ready on time. He didn't wish my mom a happy Mother's Day and didn't wish my parents a happy anniversary even after he was asked to. Both days my parents were over at my apartment. He wasn't apologetic that he forgot about it either. When my mom asked him where's my wish, he just grudgingly said happy anniversary. Him not taking the exit that my dad told him to when he was driving our family. My boyfriend agreed to take this certain exit off the motorway, but ended up forgetting, I assume, and took another one. Him not greeting my parents and saying hi, how are you, when he walked into our apartment while my parents were over. He just looked annoyed. Boyfriend said he was tired, but that he did say hi, but I'm not too sure whose point of view is right. After boyfriend walked in, though, he proceeded to sit quietly in a corner on his phone and not interact with anyone, which my parents found rude. Boyfriend didn't help to set the table for dinner at our apartment, even after my mom said she was hungry, and my parents had to do it themselves. I had popped out to the shops this time, so I didn't know what happened. I can't tell if my family is nitpicking or if this stuff is actually something that should be taken as an indication that my boyfriend isn't a good fit for the future. I don't want to lose my close relationship with my family, but at the same time, I don't want to lose my boyfriend, as I have been happy with him. I am moving out alone soon. Have to appease my parents, but also to experience living alone for a while and to see if the issues die down. I guess some of the problems were also caused by us living together and my parents having to see him every time they came to visit me. Okay. Let's see what the comments say. Forget about what your parents think about his behavior. What do you think about his behavior? And OP replied, well, I agree with them in most cases that what he did wasn't appropriate. I don't think it's that huge a deal. I wouldn't break up with him over it. I'm not a fan of him making us late all the time, but that's something I'm willing to work through. I don't think his behavior hints at an hints of an underlying manipulative, rude, spiteful persona. Hmm. And then the original commenter replied, it sounds like your parents have a point. It's not like this is a one-time thing, but a pattern of behavior. He is rude. Is it possible that you don't think his rudeness is a big deal because it's not directed at you? At least not yet, anyway. It also sounds like he only tolerates your parents, which will always put you in the middle. It's great that you're willing to work with him about his time management, but that only works if he is also willing to work on it. You're not his mother, so it's not your job to nag him to get ready on time. That gets old very fast. And someone else replied, as far as being late, if you need to be somewhere at 2, you tell him 1:30. I have a brother-in-law that is always told 2 when everyone else shows up at 3 and he is still late. Okay, that's a good idea, actually. I have 3 stories left, and one of them is a two-parter, so let's get started. Ex-mother-in-law strikes again. My former boyfriend and I broke up because of his mother, and I haven't heard from her for a couple of months. Thank God. His mother came to my door demanding that I take him back, as he is blaming her for breaking us up, and that he barely talks to her nowadays. She demanded I take him back as she wants him to start talking to her again. I burst out laughing in her face for about 4 minutes, and I couldn't stop, which made her even more angry. I closed the door in her face and got ready to go to work. This woman followed me to work and again demanded I take her son back, and I just continued laughing in her face. In the end, I told her to fuck off and that she made her bed and she can rot in it. She looked stunned as I don't usually talk back to her because I didn't want to upset my ex. I told her if she continued to harass me, I would go to the police. She seemed to back off after that threat. Good riddance. Mistaking who the real entitled parent was. I was flying home yesterday and encountered an entitled mother in the wild, but then realized the entitled mother was not the biggest problem. So we board our 2 hour delayed flight due to thunderstorms. Shockingly, the plane was not full. Before we could make a move, entitled mother puts a 7 to 8ish kid in the seat right in front of us, despite being 2 seats back and on the other side. Sigh, fine. Kids not too bad, but had to have the flight attendant tell them they had to sit up for takeoff. Remembering the thunderstorm I mentioned, turns out the turbulence was bad. We are all waiting for the seatbelt sign to turn off when the kid gets up and goes back to entitled mother about their music stopping. The flight attendant gets on the speaker and is pretty pissed off, like, get back to your seat. The kid goes back, and a few minutes later, entitled mother moves up. I think flight attendant is just in shock, and fuck it, this time it's an adult. While entitled mother is fixing kid stuff, passenger in row across from kid gets up and pulls something out of his carry-on. Based on the flirting with flight attendant, let's call him CP for creepy passenger. Finally, we get through the turbulence and seatbelt sign is turned off. Woot! Drink service starts. Poor flight attendant has trouble getting creepy passenger to let her get through the service. Kid keeps going back to entitled mother. Entitled mother keeps fixing things and trying to get kid to nap a little. I understand we did arrive at 11:30 due to delay. Creepy passenger gets to drinking and making inappropriate comments to flight attendant. We finally arrive and thank the merciful plane gods are able to take our seatbelts off and stand up. We notice creepy passenger grabs his bag before seatbelt sign is off and rushes to be first in line to get out. Not sure why. It's a tiny airport and no flights until tomorrow morning. Entitled mother rushes past us to get to the kid, but to her credit does tell us to go ahead. We walk to the terminal and are standing at the baggage belt. When entitled mother comes in with a kid, and you will never believe it, goes up to creepy passenger and asks, "Where do you think we get our gate check bag?" Creepy passenger is actually entitled dad. I let them know that all bags will come through the one bag belt. I mean, we do have two, but the other one is for northern flights only, and that anything that doesn't will be shoved through the door we just entered by. I can't stress how small our airport is. They were clearly here to visit someone as a lady comes in and hugs are exchanged. Kid tries to hug lady and entitled dad immediately cuts in and starts complaining about his bag. So in the end, I feel so bad for the poor kid and think maybe entitled mother was just doing her best. I mean, entitled dad was in the same row the entire time and never acknowledged the poor thing or even tried to assist them or even act appropriately in front of them. Kid clearly knew the score and didn't even try to ask him. Moral of the story, don't have kids with dickheads. Alright. One more and it's a two-parter, so oh my gosh. Okay, entitled mother takes my inheritance and uses it to bail my brother out. Oh my goodness. Alright. Oh boy, do I have a good one. I'm set to inherit a good portion of land, as is my entitled brother. The two properties are approximately the same size and have the same valuation. Entitled mother decided that it would be beneficial for everyone to go ahead and give us the properties so we could buy a home or whatever in order to get around inheritance taxes and probate when she eventually passes. Well, I decided to list mine with a real estate agent in September of last year. Trusting my mother to do the right thing, I didn't ask her to go ahead and deed everything over. I just asked her to sign the paperwork, and I was going to handle everything else. Here's what happened. My entitled brother lives in jail. Not literally, but he's there enough that all of the detention officers know him well. He can't leave the house without being charged with a felony, all of which are valid charges. See, he's an unrepentant H and F A what? Asshole? H and F asshole? And does not care about anything else? What the fuck is H and F? Asshole. Okay, whatever. I don't, an unrepentant H and F? What? Husband and father asshole? Maybe? And does not care about anything else. There's a long list of all the truly screwed up things he's done, none of which I feel like rehashing, but rest assured that all of the charges are born of a fatal combination of arrogance and stupidity. Entitled mother continues to support, enable him. To me, my children are just the same in my eyes. We're not, to clarify. Well, after we listed the property, he got in trouble again for what feels like the 457th time. That is specific. What does she do because sweet baby boy can't possibly spend more time in jail? She signs a bond with the county because what bail bondsman would touch him? No, none, that's how many. Using all of her properties, including what's supposed to go to me and her own personal home. She never told me any of this, so here I go, be hopping into what looks like a good future, never knowing that I'm engaging in criminal activity, thinking that I'm going to buy my own house. The land sold. We're under contract with the buyer. My family is working on what we assume to be our new house. She even helped clean it out, all the while knowing all of this. Closing time comes. The lawyer runs a title check one more time, and what does he find? The bond. I'm not sure what the character count is on these, so I'm going to cut this off for now. It's running long. If you want more, tell me. Okay. And then there's a part two. I'm going to read the part two in a second. And someone says, I want more. Would you please update when you can? OP says, done. And the commenter says, thank you. I would talk to a lawyer to see if there is anything you can do. Your mother needs to see that your brother is a lost cause and just cut ties with him instead of constantly trying to bail him out. And then OP replies, I have literally begged her to cut him loose, to send him back to jail where he's safe. Without her enablement, maybe he wouldn't be killing himself and her. She's 75, is a cancer survivor, and has CHS. This stress looks like too much for her to me. I'm at a total loss about what to do. Edit, I've considered going to a lawyer to see if I can get her declared incompetent, as her decisions have become more than questionable, but I just don't have the heart to do it. And then another commenter replies to that, tell yourself that you're doing it for her before she hurts herself. And then OP replies, I know I absolutely need to, but God, she's mean. It will be a fight start to finish. And then the guy says, keep repeating it to yourself like a mantra. It'll help motivate and comfort you. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna read part two, and then I am signing off, because that is it for today. Part two, because one person asked. So the lawyer finds out and tells me, cue multiple frantic phone calls between me, the lawyer, my real estate agent, and my mother. Turns out she signed the bond in December after the property was listed in good faith, at least by me, committing fraud. I've been told outright poorly executed lies. Lies in which she always gets caught. She told me that she didn't realize that mine was included in the bond. Then she says that she didn't realize that the land would sell so fast, so she had until August, his newest court date, to have it figured out. She always trips herself up. She tells me a convoluted, complicated lie about contacting her lawyer and a bail bondsman, and how it will all work out just fine in time for the closing. She says he's going to surrender himself. She says a lot of things, all lies. I can't trust her as far as I can throw her, I know this now. So here we are. The land is still under contract. The buyers are having some trouble with their mortgage company, thank God. He's still free, and she's still going to lose her house, all because of this total piece of garbage who couldn't care less about any of this. All he cares about is sticking a needle up his arm. Oh, okay, H and F, and then there was an A, but the rest of the letters were blocked out. Heroin and something addict. What the hell is... So what is F? I thought it meant husband and father asshole, but nope. Heroin and something that starts with F addict. It just said H and F, and then there was an A, and the rest of the letters had little stars, and I thought it was asshole. Yesterday I told her about some casual Google-related research that I've done. She knew that the buyers could sue her for breach of contract, but she didn't realize that felony criminal charges could be filed against her for fraud, given the value of the property. Now she's scared and actually doing something when it's her own hide on the line. Maybe it will work out, maybe it won't. I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. It's the not knowing that's killing me. I hope everything works out for this guy, this person, whoever this is. And that is all the entitled parent stories I have for today. I'm gonna really quickly just Google what what drugs start with F so I can figure out I want to try and figure out what that means. So it's heroin and something that starts with F addict. And I don't know of any drugs that starts with F, so drug starting with F. Okay. Hmm. So it's heroin and something addict. Okay, phenazepam, fake cocaine, no. Drugs A to Z. Mephenedrone, that starts with M. Um, Fentanyl. Okay, I think so. H and F were just letters, and then it said he was an H and F A with like the letters are little stars. You know, when you have a swear word and you're trying to like block it out. So I think he is a heroin and fentanyl addict. I think that is what that means. Okay. When the original poster said um when the original poster said that all he cares about is sticking a needle up his arm, I was like, heroin addict. That's what that means. I was not sure what H and F meant, but heroin and fentanyl addict. Okay. Well, that was, some of those stories were insane. Some of them were kind of funny, like the one with the dad flirting with, like, being creepy. The one with creepy passenger turned out to be entitled dad. I enjoyed that. I did not expect that. Anyway, I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourself, and I will see all you, don't forget to be good to yourself and to others, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye.